So pushing on through Hat in Time, going to World 2, something relatively unthinkable happened. I actually started fucking enjoying this game. I really started liking it. The next world was set in a movie studio. The next one after that was a spooky forest, and the one after that was a mountain village. All of them won me over with their inventive designs, the charm of the NPCs and the characters. They mixed up the structure quite well, which I wasn't expecting. I thought it was going to be quite straightforward. You do the thing, get the lip, but no, it isn't like that. They really do mix it up in quite cool ways. They definitely seemed like they improved on their vision going forward as they were working on the game, and they made very endearing characters, crazy, fucking really fun boss fights. Oh, and they did keep JonTron in the game, which is a kind of a plus, if you know what I mean. But yeah, I did enjoy it. I enjoyed it all the way to the end. It was a lovely little length. Sometimes when you have like 10 different worlds and there's like 20 collectibles in each of them, it gets a bit like, oh, okay, whatever, if it's not done right. But it was 40 items. It was 4 really cool, well, okay, 3 really cool worlds that were designed well. Each mission was quite fun and exciting to do. Definitely changed it up each time. Or even when they did do the exploring thing on its own, like World 4, which did the thing that the first world should have done, in that it let you go and collect a thing. Had an open world which split off into linear routes, which had their own little interesting bits and bobs you can do, and as you collect each of the things, it progresses the little mini story in that area, and drops you back into the overworld to go explore again until you find the next route to the next thing. But it didn't stop you, it didn't take you right back to the start. It kept you going, it kept you in that world. It works very well. That's when it started to hit its stride, and I think it really would have it definitely would have benefited from using that structure on the first level, but hell, I was just enjoying it. I was just having a great time. The voice acting is actually really good. It has fucking Rice Pirate, it has Tomar, it has Xander Mobius, obviously JonTron. It's great. It's got some pretty sweet voice actors in there doing some pretty cool voices. I do have criticisms still, of course, of Hat in Time. The yarn collectibles, while they are fun puzzles and telegraphed quite neatly on the map where they are ultimately key items that are needed to progress through the game. So you make different hats which give you different abilities, which you can switch on the fly. That's great. But these hats, you need a certain amount of them and a certain type to make a hat. But it's really, they're spread out like optional collectibles, which is really odd, as maybe you'll get to the spooky forest and you haven't bothered really collecting them, and then it's like, oh, I don't know how to progress, there's like weird things, and it's like, oh, well, you actually need to go and collect enough of these yarns to make the hat to progress, which is then flipped on its head because there are badges which act as like a little small passive buff, like you don't take falling damage. But going through, when you get to World 3, there's a badge which is an essential item. It's the grappling hook, which is essential. The game even stops and says, you need this item, it's an essential item to complete this level. So it kind of boggles my mind that it was made as a badge which you can just equip and unequip, instead of just having as just a dedicated button. That's another thing where I feel like it could have been polished and reworked slightly better. That makes the collectibles feel a bit redundant and useless about halfway into the game, when I've got all the hats and I was like, okay, well, I've got the big hat that's like the optional one, which doesn't really do much for me. So I was like, well, there's not really a point for me going and collecting the rest of these things. The badges are sort of like little fun things. I wasn't that overly bothered in collecting them. There's the banjo noises, which is, yes, great. But apart from that, I was like, oh, okay. The controls definitely still could have been worked on slightly. Just small little things to improve on. The Mustache Girl still had a terrible voice actor even to the end. I mean, you get some big names like Xander Mobius, Rice Pirate, Catakaris. Josh Tomar putting in great performances. It kind of feels like a bit of a contrast to have a poor voice actor for someone who's quite key to the story. But apart from that, I enjoyed the game. I went to the end. I didn't collect all the collectibles. I did go through and complete each of the worlds to finish each of their sort of like stories and boss fights and everything. Had great fun with that. There were side missions which are definitely Super Mario Sunshine, just platforming puzzles. They had a great aesthetic. I enjoyed them. Fine. I could have done some more, but I'm fine with it. Let's move on to Yooka-Laylee. Moving on to World 2, there is an option to expand worlds and open new worlds. So it feels a bit disconnected having to come out of a world, expand it, and then go back in and seeing the new areas. If you could do it in the actual world to see what you're doing, would have been cleaner. Or maybe, in my opinion, just actually doing little tasks to improve the world like Banjo did. I would have enjoyed that more, because the snow level is fucking awful. There are slippery surfaces that don't appear different to other slippery surfaces, which you can scale with a move that you actually learn to go up slippery surfaces. But there are now surfaces which you can't do until you get another special move to combine with that move, which is very poor. That's a very poor and dumb decision. At least make it obvious why that type is, like, if it's like going up ice, fine, sure, I can get behind that. That's all you need to do. Make it just so you go up ice. But it's boggling to me that they didn't distinguish. What is the point in starting the whole level when you have to run around, find Trouser, and learn the moves that will let you do pretty much everything in the world? So that the point of me having to run to the center of the world essentially to get the moves to explore is a fucking waste of time. I know he's usually put in a place that's quite straightforward, quite on the first forward path to find him, but it's a fucking Banjo game, dude. I want to explore. I want to go around and have fun. I'm not just like, okay, I'm just going to go until I find the guy, then I can explore. What a fucking waste. Have him by the world opening. Have him by the fucking world opening if you're going to do that, which you shouldn't do, but fucking do it. And then when you expand the second area, you get to the Icy-Metric Palace. I thought this can't be real. Like, I thought it was one room and that was gonna be the joke, but it wasn't. It's actually a long maze-like annoyance of a fucking world. It clearly was just designed after the pun, because there's no polish. There's no care to the design of this area. There's no care to the puzzles. There's no care to the map structure, to how it fits together. It looks fucking ugly as anything, and it has just an appalling boss. I hate it. It feels, and I don't know if this is true, it felt like the people who donated the most to Kickstarter got to come in and design a level, and these people are your average Joes who don't actually have any knowledge of game design or the basic concepts of how to make a world feel fun to explore. Going through the games, it was quite clear that the structure of Yooka-Laylee wasn't emulating Banjo, where you could go around, change things in the world, explore, help out different people. It was very clear it was like a sort of opening to a relatively big area to then branch off into small linear tasks to complete the thing that were self-contained, that worked on their own gimmick, but the gimmick wasn't designed well. Like, in a Mario level, you have to get from point A to point B, and Nintendo does a really great thing with the design in that they take a gimmick or some interesting mechanic. They will introduce that mechanic in a safe environment. They will then expand upon that in a more difficult setting when the player has got control and they feel like they can handle it. And then they will finally remix that idea. And then the level's over. Short, sweet. Which kind of feels like by the length and the structure that they were going for, that these small challenges were going to be, okay, this is the one where you're going to have to use your tongue to grapple onto the things. Okay, let's do something with that, which could have worked, but they really didn't design it like that. It was just, you drop it straight into a really bad puzzle, which is awful. So that was the structure for World 2, World 3, World 4 and World 5. World 5 is just, oh my god, that is the worst looking one. That looks like they designed the individual things and dropped them onto a map around, not sure how to design it, like Los Izalith in Dark Souls, where they just dropped the enemies because they weren't quite sure how to design it, and they weren't really, they didn't give it enough care and polish as the rest of the game. So I really wasn't enjoying this, because, and it was just go, oh, there's an interesting thing, go over there, okay, this is the one where you have to do a time run challenge, and then you open the cage and there's, oh, you get to jump in the thing. Okay. And it was repetitive. Nothing stuck out to me as interesting. All the bosses were very inspired. They had the basic attack patterns, and they were just, also they're too long. They're just that little bit too long. It's just frustrating. And then you finally go through, you learn all the moves, you get past all the janky, horrible Unity physics, you get enough pages, and then you fight the final boss, Capital B. Okay. And it was just a disappointing crap boss fight in a crap standard boss setting. I didn't feel that there was any stakes behind it or anything interesting about it. It was your standard run away from the boss, wait till he opens up, then you hit him, and then it gets the thing, oh, wait till he does the ground pound a certain amount of times, then you hit him. Oh, you got to jump and avoid the ground pound shakes? Oh, I've never seen that before. Fucking hell. And it goes on forever. God, it goes on for fucking ever. And then to top it all off, it just has like a, yeah, well done, mate. Well, nice one. Here's, and I mean this, 4 hours of credits. This next part, I'm just going to dedicate to the nitpicks for Yooka-Laylee. Just the things that I think it did wrong fundamentally, and things that bothered me, because there's quite a few. To start off, I hate that the jokes are all fourth wall breaking jokes. There's so many of them, and honestly, it's nearly everything they say is a fourth wall breaking joke. And I get it, Banjo had fourth wall breaking jokes, but they were interspersed very sparingly, because most of the jokes were related to the actual characters interacting in the world, which, you know, it tried to give you that grounded sense of, yes, this is an actual world, these characters actually exist. So sure, it can poke fun at that concept, but if you do it too much, nothing feels serious, and the dialogue feels just, I get it, you're a video game. This is exemplified in the fact that the quiz, so you have to do a quiz after you beat the first light world. Standard, it's an homage to Banjo. Before you fight Gruntilda, you have to take a quiz. It was quite fun. It was a little, it was an interesting mix-up, and just the quiz, I thought, okay, it's going to be a cute little homage. That's it, one and done. No. You have to do it 2 more times. And some of the questions are, how long have you fucking been playing this game? Like, I'm meant to know how long I've been playing this game? Like, I'm meant to take note of the actual hours I've put into this game? Oh, fuck off. Just fuck off. I don't like how the NPCs feel very disconnected from the worlds that they inhabit. So, in the swamp world, you have trolleys as the main NPCs. I guess it's like people take a trolley from Tesco's and they dump it in the river or something. Sure, I've seen that every now and then when you visit places like Basingstoke. But then there's also like jack-o'-lanterns as the other NPC. So I didn't get. Were they going for a spooky thing, or were they going for like a dirty swamp? It just feels disconnected and doesn't fit. Like they were designed before the worlds were designed, and they were just plopped wherever. I absolutely hate the fact that you have to pay pages to expand the world. Frankly, it's a neat idea, but they implemented it so fucking poorly. What is the point of explore? I explored World 5 without expanding it. What's the fucking point? There is like 2 pages you can get, barely anything you can actually collect and do, and then when you expand it, it's like, oh, here's the actual world, which you should be exploring. Here you go, here's all the actual stuff. What's the point? You might as well just start with that explored world. Keep it until the end, after you beat the final boss. Has it like as an option where you can spend more pages to like expand the world, to give it some extra challenges. That's fine. That would have been better. But no, it feels like you're just withholding content for no reason other than cause backtracking. Oh, terrible design. I hate the Unity physics. Everything feels awful unless it's like a dedicated enemy with dedicated particle effects. When you hit an enemy, you actually feel like you've hit them. They dive away, they scream, they poof, done. But things in the world, like grabbing the golf balls, it feels like you're not moving an actual golf ball. There's no weight behind it. It's like some light weird mess that's made out of the Unity physics. When you hit like the snow things with the plow, they just burst apart and then they fade out. I fucking hate that. Give me some dedicated particle. Fucking hate it. Shovel Knight's in the game, and great, sure, you go grab him a gem, and he's like, oh, I'll dig you up a pagey. This is a dedicated animation, it's great, sure. He says, yo ho 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 ho, love it, fine. But then, the next time he appears, he's in the space world, and he's like, oh, the pigs can't work together, and he's just essentially a dedicated the backtracking point for the instructions on how to complete the next part of a scavenger hunt. He's just like, oh, you need to collect this from this pig, do this. And it's like, oh, that's not fun. It's not fun at all. And then he just sort of opens the thing. He's like, okay, cool, bye. It's like, well, thanks, Shovel Knight, for being in the game. No, that was really great. Really great of you. I hate how you get the fly ability after World 5, and it just breaks the fucking game. Platforming challenges just no longer seem like a problem. Like, I went back and completed some of World 1 because I was just like, okay, I can use this ability. It just makes all of the challenges just non-existent and just a weird sequence broken mess. Banjo made the flying ability in dedicated segments in dedicated worlds where you had to use a specific pad to launch yourself from, because then the game could be designed around those elements, and where it wasn't implemented would mean that you'd have to complete the challenges without the flying ability, or at least they would withhold it until much later in a specific part of the world, which is a great idea. The fucking minecart levels, oh my god, they're so fucking mean with their, you need to collect a certain amount of gems. The controls feel awful, nothing feels weighted or accurate. There's certain jumps that I'm sure that where I'd be jumping from would be where you should do it, and after failing it 10 times, I still can't tell you where and how you should be doing these jumps. Oh, it's awful. And when you luck out and finally do it, then you get to this fucking another bit where it's like, oh, and there's a fucking boss on the fucking minecarts. Great, that's just what I wanted. A shitty boss on the minecart level. Fantastic, and it fucking has another form? What the fuck? I don't like, you have to buy moves. Sure, it gives value to the collectibles, but after you buy them all, which you can do relatively early for a relatively low amount of these collectibles, what's the fucking point in collecting the rest of the quills? There's absolutely no point. There's no point. There's no extra goodies I can get or spend with. I have no desire to come back and play the rest of the game. I have absolutely no desire to see what the rest has happened. I hate how sometimes in the linear challenges it could be like a maze or something, where you have to find your way through. You finally go all the way through and get the pagey. Great. Usually games would loop you back to the start and make it easy for you to get back into the world to explore. No, not in Yooka-Laylee. It forgets sometimes, and it just gives you, it just says, oh, just make your way out. Just find your way out. It's fine. You have to backtrack through the whole fucking thing. This is really sloppy design. Some of the power-ups feel very imprecise, like the tongue one. I didn't have a clue how it was meant to work. It just sort of works on its own accord. It's really shit. This race you have to be dead perfect to win, or else you have to stop and do this fucking 5-minute long race again. Just, oh, it's so tedious. They even drop at the end that there's like bigger bads. Oh, looks like we're gonna have to do a Yooka-Laylee. It's like, earn it yourself first, mate. Just earn it before you even think about doing that. Which is the better game, Yooka-Laylee or Hat in Time? It's Mario Odyssey, baby! Oh, Mario Odyssey, baby! Oh, best game of the year, 2017. Mario Odyssey, baby! Oh, baby! Oh, Mario Odyssey! Oh, mamma mia! Oh.